What's up, dudes? Ray here. So it's Saturday morning, and I'm kind of just doing my normal Saturday morning routine, having some coffee and just kind of browsing YouTube just to kind of wake up for the day, right? I had no intention of making a video. However, this video by D all the way G about him talking about the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection and the reaction everybody's getting, or overreaction in his words, fucking lit a fire in me, bro. I see the passion and the heart in which he talks about this video, bro, and I can't help but want to join in on this because much like you, D, man, I'm really passionate about this franchise in general, dude. I've had so many childhood memories tied to this franchise, and I feel like a lot of the frustrations, I don't want to say anger, right? I think being angry at this game is kind of childish, but the frustrations I have with this game are kind of rooted in the same nostalgia and memories that your feelings are rooted in, but you're defending this game. So I want to sit here and talk about this and try to react to some videos that you got. I'm not going to show the whole video. I strongly suggest you guys check it out on your own. He brings up a lot of good points, and more importantly, man, and this is something I feel like we need to practice more. All of us, anybody that wants to put their 2 cents in on anything, pay attention to the passion he's speaking with. Pay attention to the heart he's putting into this, and we need to carry that. I feel like that needs to be a must anytime you want to talk about controversy or something you're passionate about. Anyways, let's get into it. Let's check it out. All right, so in this first clip, he talks about something I feel like pretty much all of us are talking about, and that is the absence of MK Gold. So let's give it a check out.
So I'm gonna start by saying this. Is Mortal Kombat the Legacy Collection a perfect game? Fuck no. And it was never gonna be a perfect game. And I'm gonna tell y'all why. When Digital Eclipse came out and announced that MK Gold was not gonna be in the game, I knew right then and there this was not going to be a 100% great game. Right there. And I'm gonna tell you something else. They just didn't want to put MK Gold in this game. There was nothing holding them back in putting MK Gold in this game. I don't want to hear, MK Gold was for the Dreamcast. No. They just didn't want to do it. I'm gonna just be all the way real. They did not want MK Gold in this collection. I don't know whose call it was. I don't know if it was Ed Boon or whatever. They did not want MK Gold in this game.
So yeah, let's talk about the MK Gold situation first. I do want to say first and foremost that I do agree with D that we all should have known that when we weren't getting MK Gold, that this was not going to be the collection that we all wanted. Because let's face it, all of us want gold. All of us want gold. It's such a badass game. Now, I agree with his assessment in that. But the reasoning as to why, that doesn't fly with me, D. Sorry. Right? I don't think it was ever a case of Digital Extremes not wanting to do this. I mean, just looking at it logically, right? Think about how many more copies this game would have sold, how much more faith this game would have bought from the customers had they included Mortal Kombat Gold, right? I don't think them not wanting to do it is the reasoning, because that's money on the table. That's easy money on the table. If they were able to put the same amount of effort into porting Gold over as they did the other games and have it port just as easily, we would have seen it. But that's where the issue lies, is the difficulty in porting that game. Now, I'm not going to get too technical about this. There's a lot of big words in this shit, and it bores the fuck out of me just thinking about it. So I'm going to try and break this down here. Looking at Mortal Kombat 4 for the arcade and porting it to the PlayStation, right? That is a much easier thing to do because you have all of the components, the coding, the BIOS, all of it sourced in the arcade itself, owned by Midway, owned in-house, right? So Boon, the studio, already had access to all the files that they needed to put this over. And not only that, but porting it from an arcade emulation has already been a pretty easy thing comparatively for a long time. Being able to take arcade code and kind of shrink it and port it down to consoles has been a thing forever. So having just Mortal Kombat 4, the arcade port, that's business as usual. That's comparatively, that's easy stuff. I can't do it, obviously, but when it comes to porting games, porting arcade cabinets are much easier than really porting consoles to begin with. So now that we kind of covered that, I do want to talk about why we didn't get the Dreamcast version. Mortal Kombat Gold is a Dreamcast exclusive game. It was designed ground up for the Dreamcast. To my knowledge, I don't think they really did much porting. Instead, they pretty much recoded the game to use the Dreamcast engine or the Dreamcast console, right? Think of it like this. Think about how much more different Mortal Kombat Trilogy is than Ultimate or even 3. And think about how much different Ultimate is from 3, right? The WaveNet version. All these different versions of these games are different because all these different versions of the games are so much different from each other because the coding is different. Dreamcast, that's a whole completely different other fucking language. At that point, now sure, PCs could probably emulate a Dreamcast, but you're expecting a PS5, an Xbox, and a Switch to emulate a Dreamcast. It's two completely different languages. It is far more complex to have a console emulate another console exclusive game than it would be to emulate cabinets or any other games from the same console franchise, right? So let's take PlayStation. Let's look at how bad PS2 emulation can be on the PS3, PS4, PS5, right? Look at Final Fantasy X and some of the other Mortal Kombat games, right? Emulating those games is never perfect because of the differences in coding languages and shit like that, but just between the PlayStation franchises. Then you're trying to get Dreamcast on these other consoles. You're taking a Dreamcast language, and let's not forget how much more different Dreamcast was than everything else, even still to this day, from the BIOS it uses, to the software it uses, to the coding, compiling, all that shit, right? Using GD-ROMs. There should have never been an expectation to port Gold over. From the very beginning, there should have never been it, because looking actually at the nuts and bolts of it, how it's done, what would have been required to get that completed, there is no way WB, NetherRealm, or whoever else would have been able to pay the money to get that done. It just wasn't going to happen. And this is why you don't see Dreamcast exclusive games ported over to pretty much anything, because it's a hard fucking console to emulate on other consoles. So no, it's not because Digital Eclipse didn't want to. It's not because they wanted to give us a big middle finger. It's because the people that paid for this project did not want to pay for the effort it took to port the game over. They looked at it, they probably projected how much money they were going to make, and they said, nah, this isn't in the budget. That's it. And you can prove this by finding any kind of Dreamcast exclusive port of any game on any other console. Power Stone was in the arcades and things like that. Crazy Taxi in the arcades, right? But you'll never see a Dreamcast exclusive game ported over to another console, because that's a lot of hard work. All right, so the second thing he brings up is the online functionality, or lack thereof. He kind of gives his 2 cents on the situation. And once again, I feel like I agree with a lot of what you're saying, man. But there are some points that I really want to bring up that I feel like you may not be taking into perspective here. Let's take a look.
Feel what I'm saying? This is not about some online competitiveness or whatever when it comes to these classic Mortal Kombat games. It's about what these games did as far as our childhood, as far as us growing up with this shit. You feel what I'm saying? And then on top of that, it's real Mortal Kombat. It's Mortal Kombat. It ain't that dumb shit that we seeing from Mortal Kombat 1 and Mortal Kombat 11, that Hollywood bullshit. We don't gotta worry about no Hollywood characters, no cameos, or nothing like that. Everybody's favorite character is in these classic Mortal Kombat games. Y'all feel what I'm saying? That is what I want people to understand right now when it comes to Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. The game is not a disaster. It's not a disaster whatsoever. And people gotta realize what this does and what this means to a lot of us growing up. I'm gonna give y'all an example. Like I said, when I was a fucking toddler, going to arcades, we would go to a movie theater, okay? And Mortal Kombat 2 would be there. And when y'all go into a movie theater, y'all smell that popcorn. That popcorn be smelling so fucking good. Man, guess what? You have people crowding around Mortal Kombat 2 with popcorn. Not to go see the movie, but to watch people play Mortal Kombat 2. That's how big Mortal Kombat 2 was back in the day. Mortal Kombat 2 was the biggest thing on the face of the fucking earth. Motherfuckers were literally standing there eating popcorn that's supposed to be for the movies, watching Mortal Kombat 2. That is why I played the Legacy Collection right there, because it brung that back. It brung back those beautiful ass memories growing up right there. It brung that back when I was playing that shit. When you walk into an arcade, you smell that shit. You smell the arcade. You walk into a movie theater with an arcade, you smell the popcorn. You see people surrounding Mortal Kombat 2, eating popcorn, watching people play. To me, that is what the Legacy Collection is all about. It ain't about the online and all that competitive shit. Like I said, I hope they'll make some tournaments and shit out of this or whatever. But at the end of the day, this is what I feel about the Legacy Collection. And this is what I want people to understand what this Legacy Collection is truly all about. The shit that it brings back, as far as us growing up with this shit. Y'all feel what I'm saying?
Man, I could almost smell the popcorn too, man, just listening to you talk about this, right? It's so crazy how deep these memories are for a lot of us. And for me personally, it wasn't the popcorn, it definitely was the pizza. I have a very clear memory of this game. It was a Pizza Hut, and I must have dumped fucking $10-20 of my parents' money into that arcade cabinet that day. But there's one thing I clearly remember to this day, and I still get fucking triggered by this shit. I was trying to run through the ladder, and this little fucking kid, I don't know, like, it still befuddles me to this day that there are kids out there that do shit like this. I'm playing through this ladder, I'm spending my parents' money on this ladder, and this kid literally goes, "Oh wait, you're doing it wrong." He proceeds to put his fucking hands on my stick and buttons, and I say my stick and buttons because my fucking quarters, and he starts fucking just spamming shit, and I lose the round. Bro, I feel like that was the very first time I really felt that kind of anger towards anybody. I didn't know a person could feel like that towards somebody until that little fucking kid with his pepperoni crusted fucking fingers started slathering that shit all over the buttons and joystick, bro, causing me the match. Oh man. I still get triggered by that to this day. But not even that, it goes beyond that, because there's so many different arcades where you had so many moments of just like sitting there and seeing a line and just seeing quarters, right? And you put your quarter up and you're just waiting. And you're right, a lot of that doesn't need online. A lot of that wasn't online play, right? You don't need online matchmaking for memories like that. But let me bring up a perspective for you that I feel like you missed out on, and something that I feel like really adds to this, and I think is an argument towards why they should have included online functionality. Sure, a lot of good memories of Mortal Kombat I've had in arcades, and just meeting random people and making new friends, right? But there are even more memories I have of playing this shit at home, playing with my friends at home. Going out, hanging out with your friends, spending until sunset just out wandering the town, coming back in and loading up, in my case, Mortal Kombat 2 on the Genesis, and just going to town. Or even better, I still remember playing Mortal Kombat Ultimate 3 with a friend of mine on the Genesis, and how shitty that game was, to the point where it, like 9 times out of 10, whenever you uppercutted somebody through the stage, it would cause the game to crash. I remember discovering the robot smoke fatality where you blew up the world in my friend's room, right? There are so many memories I have had tied to just playing with my brothers, my friends, my family, all of that. And when you just, and look, I'll go 50-50 with you on this. It doesn't even have to be ranked. I don't give a shit about the rank ladders, because you're right. I don't like the tournaments in this. I don't care about that. But now my brother lives halfway across the fucking continent. There is no way for me to use this particular version of the game, the Legacy Collection, to play those games with my brothers, with my friends, with the people that I have these memories with, without doing some janky ass shit like queuing up at the same time or something like that, right? That's my complaint about this, man. Sure, right? I cannot dispute the movie theater arcades. I cannot dispute the nostalgia or anything like that. I can't argue against any of that. However, what I can do is point out the fact that you probably do have some memories of you being in an apartment, house, whatever, right? And playing these games with friends. It's such an easy function to have added to this game. And they chose not to. That's my beef with this, D. That's my problem with this is, sure, I have fun playing by myself, but Mortal Kombat isn't a game that you just play by yourself. You don't maximize the enjoyment of Mortal Kombat just sticking to the arcade cabinets. You want to sit there next to your opponent or across the way from your opponent. You want to play the beef sets that you have with childhood friends, right? There's so much more of a multiplayer aspect of this game, especially in fighting games in general, that when you don't include the ability to play with your friends, what the fuck are you doing, man? What are you doing? I don't care about ranked. Yeah, I don't care to be top tier in Mortal Kombat 1, 2, or 3, like D says, right? It was never about being competitive in that sense, but it sucks that I can't play with my friends or my family or anything like that, because those are my memories. And it's not like any of us can take an arcade cabinet, one of those arcade 1-up cabinets, and sit in a movie theater anymore and come on, line them up next, right? We're stuck with this in our house by ourselves. And if we're lucky and the stars align, all of our grown-ass adult friends, they're not watching the kids that weekend, they got a babysitter, whatever it is, the stars have aligned and you're able to play this game with your friends. But how often is that going to happen? Yeah, you got your memories, man, but it's more about creating new memories. And this collection, with that lack of functionality, is going to make it really fucking hard for a lot of us to do just that. Now, here's another thing he talks about, and I think he hits the nail on the head with this one. And he talks about setting the right expectations. And before I say anything, let's get into it. Let's see what he has to say, and I'll add my 2 cents in.
But when it comes to Mortal Kombat, we don't have it consistently like Street Fighter, where they have a fucking collection every other fucking year. Street Fighter is on its 15th collection right now, and then they're probably going to have another one in another 2 years. It's not like that with Mortal Kombat, you know what I'm saying? This is probably the only real collection we're gonna get in a long time. Now, there are rumors out there that they're gonna make a volume 2, but I'm gonna tell y'all right now, don't count on it. Don't count on it, you know? And I always be telling people, and this is another reason why my attitude is the way it is, because I've said this about Tekken 8. I've said this about Virtua Fighter 6. Keep expectations low. And that's exactly what I did with the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. I kept my expectations low. I wasn't expecting no special shit. I wasn't expecting no perfect game. I sure wasn't.
So I want to share a story that I think is going to help reinforce Dee's perspective on keeping the right expectations when you're jumping into things. Some context here. I am a huge comic book fan. You can't see it, but what I'm looking at right above my computer is my complete Venom shrine. I have symbiote Funko Pops. I have Donny Cates signed special issues of King in Black. I got a King in Black print. I got posters. I got, I think, 8 long boxes of comics back there. I am a huge comic book fan. I've always been a comic book fan, and I will probably die with my comics. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. When that was announced, and when it was announced that we were going to get Venom for the first time on the big screen, I could not contain my excitement. I was fucking hyped. And then I saw the casting choice. Topher Grace. Now, for those of you who may not have been around this long, I want to explain to you what Venom was until Topher Grace. Give me a second. This is Venom. This is my Venom. This is automatically what I think of every time I think of Venom. I want you guys to look at something. Look at this. Look at this beast. Look at this hunk of fucking muscle right here, bro. Let's look even more. Let's just look even more into this shit. Look at this big beefy ass muscle head, bro. That's Eddie Brock. That's Venom. That's my Venom. That's always been my Venom. It will always be my Venom. And so when they announced Topher fucking Grace to play Eddie Brock in Spider-Man 3, I would have been the fool. I would have been the fucking idiot had I maintained the expectations I had before that. I understood right then and there Topher Grace was not Eddie Brock. This wasn't going to be Venom. And I set my expectations extremely low, and I enjoyed the fucking movie. And I think to this day, it's kind of a cult classic when you look beyond what is expected to be. Once I realized Topher Grace was in it, I was able to put myself in a state of mind to enjoy the movie for what it was, and I see that as a completely different Venom. That's not Eddie Brock to me. That's Topher Grace Venom. Same shit with Combat Legacy. D set his expectations low, and he said it from the beginning. Once we weren't getting MK Gold, he knew what he was walking into. He set his low expectations, and guess what? He fucking enjoyed the game. He enjoyed the game because he set the correct expectations for himself. And I strongly encourage all you guys to practice this, to practice this kind of understanding and to know what you're getting. This Legacy Collection was never going to be perfect. He was right. It was never going to be what we expected. And so when you lower your expectations and you expect correct things out of these things, it's easier to enjoy them, and it's easier to not really have a problem with them. Now, sure, the counter argument is things like online play should have been expected. Like, there are some basic necessities that are missing from this. I cannot dispute that. However, when you look at the track record of Warner Brothers Publishing, you look at Multiverses, you look at Suicide Squad, you look at all the bombs that they've made, and let's even factor in just emulation in general. Let's look at how shitty a lot of these collections are, a lot of these emulations are. Was your expectation the right one? And be honest with yourself. Was your expectation correct when walking into the Legacy Collection? And it sucks because, like you said, this is definitely a big part of a lot of our nostalgia, a lot of our childhood. And you want to chase back those feelings you had when you first discovered this game. And you can't. You can't have that expectation. You shouldn't have that expectation. Not anymore. The gaming world is completely different now than it was then. These games are made for completely different reasons than they were before. As terrible as it sounds, as shitty as it sounds, and not because it's shitty because I don't want to agree with him, but it's shitty because it's the reality of the situation. D's right. We should have had lower expectations. We should have. Now, I also do want to take a second and say I 100% agree with you, D, on this Hollywood combat bullshit. I am so sick and tired of these guest characters in this game, bro. It has done nothing but kind of neuter the uniqueness of this game. You're taking away from so much that makes Mortal Kombat when you throw shit like Homelander and a T-1000 in this shit, right? It sucks because you're like, I can't say it any differently. You're taking away from this. You're taking away from Mortal Kombat, and it needs to stop, bro. Let's just bring it back. Let's just make it about Mortal Kombat. I don't give a fuck about Homelander or any of that shit anymore, bro. Leave that to Injustice. Hell, Warner Brothers, you had multiverses. You had a way of doing this whole thing. You could have put all those dumbass characters in that. Stop polluting Mortal Kombat with bullshit characters. That's it. Now on to my final thoughts about this whole situation. First and foremost, I want to talk about D's video. It's great, bro. I thoroughly enjoyed how you talked about this because it comes from a genuine place, and it comes from a place where I think a lot of us really need to come from when we're looking at these things, and that is a place of passion and heart. However, seeing the way you talked about it nostalgically and hearing what you had to say about what you got out of this game brings up something I would like to talk to, and it's something I've talked about in my last video. I feel like these companies are getting away with too much. You talked about the lowered expectations. You talked about how it catered to your nostalgia and things like that, sure, but I feel like that's exactly what these companies are exploiting when they're releasing shit like this. I'm not saying you personally, D. I don't think you came at this glazing the studio or anything like that. I don't think you're really shilling or selling anything, man. I think you're talking from a place that you are coming from. And so this isn't referred to you, but a lot of the general audience, these companies are banking on the fact that we will be okay with accepting below quality standards. It would have been so easy to have allowed matchmaking, for example. And like I reiterated earlier in this video, a lot of my nostalgia, a lot of my memories, and I feel like a lot of our memories comes from being able to share these games with your friends. And when you take that away or you make it more difficult because of the online bullshit, bro, you're neutering what makes these games so fucking special. And it's being able to sit with your friends and discover new fatalities, or taking turns tackling the ladder or something like that, right? There's so much of the nostalgia that was cut out of this when you did not include at least basic matchmaking or lobbies. I agree with you with the ranked. I don't give a fuck about the ranked, bro. I doubt we'll see money tournaments in this, right? There's no motivation for anybody to really grind ranks in this. Let's be honest, sure. But taking away the ability for us to play this game and share this game with loved ones that we may not have the ability to do so locally, solid F. Solid fucking F, bro. That's my concern with this, right? But I'm also not even addressing the AI thing. I'm really just talking specifically in reference to D's video. Go watch it. It's a lot of fun. It's cool shit to have on in the background, man. It really fires you up. I don't know about you guys, but when I hear people talk passionately, it fires me up and it makes me want to talk passionately. And so I want to encourage this. So let's get this out here, bro. Let's continue the conversation. What are some of your nostalgic memories of Mortal Kombat? Is this game doing a great job at scratching those itches? Are you having fun reliving childhood memories, man? Let us know. Let's talk about it, bro. Let's open this conversation and let's hope that this leads to just a better game, just a better experience. D, I'm glad you're having fun with the game, bro. It's funny that you share that popcorn story because I smell pizza the same way you smell the popcorn with these games. And I'm glad that there are still people who are passionate about gaming. That's what it boils down to anyways. But that's it. That's all I had to say. Share your thoughts, comments below. Obviously, hit that like, subscribe, man. I love you guys. Have a good weekend. See you later.